Hi, this is Carrie from Wrap Your Head Around Silks, and welcome to the Expecting Aerialist podcast. Say hi. Today's guest is Kimberely Simonetti, creator and founder of Upflying Yoga, which is currently located in Los Angeles. So she's an aerialist, a studio owner, aerial yoga teacher. She's an amazing resource, just so incredibly knowledgeable. She is also a doula and a mom of two. She's got a 3-month baby just born during the pandemic, and I'm really excited to invite her to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about a lot of topics from Kim's doula perspective, including prenatal inversions and the benefits, her journey through IVF and uterine surgeries, placentia previa, which we both had, which is when the placenta lies low in the amniotic sac, her C-section recovery, postpartum belly binding and the benefits, her perspective on core healing and coming back into your aerial practice with grace, trying to toss out expectations for timelines and training for the long haul. When I got Kim on the line to start recording, the night before I had stabbing abdominal pain, and I thought maybe I had food poisoning. And then as I sat on the toilet at 4 a.m., I was on the internet Googling, you can have stabbing pain in your abdominals as a side effect of weaning. I had no idea. No one told me about this. And so I knew I had Kim on the phone the very next day. So the first thing I did when we got on the line was I asked her about if she ever had stabbing abdominal pain when she was weaning off the boob. And the beginning of our conversation, I thought it was really informative. So instead of a nice clean start to our interview, I am starting it with some of our conversation about my stomach pains from the night before.
Man, I have IBS anyway, so that's what I thought it was, but it definitely wasn't the same symptoms I'm used to, and it was horrific. Like an hour,
Sorry.
like between 4 and 5 a.m., like just buckled over the toilet. I was like, thanks,
Did you
motherhood, for that
yeah.
surprise.
It is funny how it's all a secret. I'm like, "Is this a trick so that we don't have kids?" Like, what's the deal here? Like, everything it's like,
Well,
"Didn't you know?" And it's like, "No, I didn't know. No one told me any of
no, of
this."
course. Well, and the
Yeah,
thing is, it's that it's not like I would ever hide this from anybody, but maybe it doesn't come up because you forget. Like,
maybe.
do
I
women just forget? I mean,
I do think there's a huge part about, like, forgetting labor and delivery for sure. Like, when I told my husband we were having a second kid, he was like, "Do you remember what happened?" And I was like, "Actually, kind of don't." But, yeah, I mean, I had a blood transfusion, I had placenta abruption, um, I was
on the first or the
hemorrhaging
second? The
on
first.
the first, hemorrhaging, yeah, like, it was the like, anything that could have gone wrong kinda went wrong, except she's beautiful and healthy, and she came out perfect,
Of
and
course. Of course.
but me,
But
I'm just like,
from the mom's end.
yeah, yeah, all of that
And we're
stuff.
weaning her slowly. So, like, I thought, I mean, yeah, hormonal changes, but like, Ace is still convinced that the chicken we had last night wasn't fully cooked through, but he had a bigger
Oh,
piece than me. I think mine was
yeah,
actually cooked through. And I was
yeah.
like, oh, I don't think that was food poisoning.
It's so funny because I get nervous about cooking chicken, I always use one of those thermometers, I'm just like, "Are we at 167?" Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was more the joys of motherhood.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
it's like how can you convince somebody else that you've got things going on in your body when it's just like they never get to experience even the subtlety of it. So it's lost, you know.
So this is a great way to start our conversation because this is the reality. So this is Kim, and please let me know if I'm butchering your last name. Can you actually say your full name for me?
Yeah, it's Kimberly Simonetti.
I love it. It's a beautiful name. I've just always stared at it and never really had the bravery to actually say it. So Kim is kind of in my outer aerial bubble. Like I've known Kim from she owns Up Flying Yoga, and we have a friend in common. We have a really great friend in common, Katie. But she's kind of been, we see each other and we hear of each other all the time. We see each other's videos. She's an aerialist, and she's also a mother of two recently, and she's also an owner of a aerial studio, which is just the biggest undertaking if you ask me. The people that I watch doing this, I can't even imagine the amount of work and the stress, especially here in LA. And she has recently become a doula. So I thought she would be an amazing person to have on this podcast because, you're kind of, you do it all. And I would love to know how. And I would love to know your insight on a lot of the things that the listeners will care about. So tell us a little bit about, just your life before we dive into the specifics.
That's a really long story. First off,
Yeah,
thank you for having
I want to
me.
hear it. Thank you
um,
for being here.
yeah, it's kind of funny because when COVID started, that's when I was starting the whole, 9 months of pregnancy. So I was basically fully pregnant through COVID, which was fun because I didn't have any help. It was like having my now 2-year old. She's 26 months, and it's kind of funny when you
Oh
talk
my
about like
God.
when I heard like 18 months, 26 months. I was like, why isn't it just one or two? But it's because there's crazy leaps. Like there's just huge changes in every week, through those first
Yes,
2 years, and so it makes a big difference when they're like 26 months versus 22 months. It's huge. But yeah, so I was like just taking care of her with a big giant belly and then moving my aerial studio outdoors. And it was a lot. She was my assistant. She's
did
my little
you
helper.
guys, for your bubble, did you have any childcare in your bubble?
We didn't. Because
Yeah,
I
we
was
didn't
pregnant.
either.
Yeah, it was really difficult. I don't know how we're here now on a conversation and talking like we can understand each other with not getting any sleep and just,
Yeah,
taking
I
care of
know.
itty bitties and keeping your sanity is definitely a huge test, but we're here. We're almost to the finish line of part of this. I mean, it's a
I
bigger
hope.
story than just COVID, but um, yeah. So we didn't have anybody in our bubble until the day we went into the hospital to deliver Maxton, which was November
Mm.
5th. And Katie, our mutual friend, actually that day when I was like, we're going to the hospital. Can we drop somebody off, drop Miri off? And Katie was like, yep, we'll take her and we'll keep her. And that was like the day I found out that I had somebody to take care of Miri because he came 5 weeks early. So one of my
Oh,
family members to
wow.
take
That's
care.
a
Yeah.
lot of weeks.
Yeah. He was a little preemie. And it was like 5.5. Like my doctor was like, and the nurses were like, you keep saying 5 weeks, but it's really 6. But yeah, we got through
Wow.
it. We're here now. I just pumped before I got on the call with you, so I'm going through all that again.
Oh my goodness. And what is it like to go through it for the second time?
It was a little bit. It was a lot easier at first, actually, because I got it. It's like I understood what was going on in the process. I
Mhm.
like he wasn't as fragile as Murray was, even though he was 5 weeks earlier. Like I knew how to take care of him, so I wasn't like on my tippy toes as much as I was with the first.
Sure.
You gain a little bit more confidence, for 5 seconds, and
Yeah.
the next 5 seconds you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then 5 seconds later, I totally have this.
Right, right, right.
It's like back and forth. It depends on like who you're talking to at the very moment to find out like what moment you're in, and that's motherhood.
Yeah. So that's really amazing that Katie was able to take her. So how long did your baby have to be in the NICU or
Yeah. So
okay.
at that time, like we actually weren't allowed to have doulas, and just a week prior, they changed it where my husband could come in with me and he could come and go. And before then, it was like once he
Oh,
left, he couldn't
wow.
come back. Yeah. So I'm sure it's been
Okay.
stressful on a lot of moms to be out there not being able to have the support systems. Doulas have been back and forth. They've been able to come into the hospital since it was late October for some of the hospitals in Los Angeles. And then once restaurants shut down, the same thing shut down without having availability to doulas in the hospital. So the nurses are overworked, the doctors are overworked. Not having a partner to help somebody that just delivered a baby is,
Yeah, it's just so hard.
very, yeah, overwhelming on the mom. And support systems aren't available just to keep the numbers low in the rooms. But yeah, he was in
Yeah.
the NICU for 5 days, and we had to like pass through the ER to get to him. So every time we went to see him, we had to pass by all the COVID
All the
situations.
risk.
Yeah, all the risks. Yep, yep. And second round, I had a C-section, and first time I did the vaginal delivery, so I got to experience both.
Oh. So did you have to do an emergency C-section?
No, I didn't. I had low-lying placenta, and it was
You
kind of
had
like a.
placenta previa? I had
I
that too.
did. Yeah,
Okay.
that was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah,
like, you're just like, I just want to be in the air.
when did they diagnosed me with previa like 4.5 months in.
It was
Is
probably around
that
then. Like, I remember at 21 weeks, she was like, okay, so you really have to watch it. So with my doula training, I also studied spinning babies. Of course, I did prenatal and postnatal yoga as well, training for that. But spinning babies was really the eye opener for me. So I did practice some of those things about how to take a baby and flip them and all of those things. So I was hoping along with that, the placenta would move up. But I think just with all the scar tissue I had so I have a pretty big story. I did 4 rounds of IVF, and I also did 3 uterus surgeries. So I had a uterine septum, where it was like the
wow.
uterus was like heart shaped. So I had to do it 3 times over in order to eliminate the scar tissue for Miri, so that she could
So this
survive
was
in the
previous
room.
to getting pregnant with your first. You had done all that work
Yes.
to set
Yep.
yourself up.
Yep. And
Oh
that
my
age, I
goodness,
was
I did not know
41 at
that.
that time. Yeah, I was 41. So I was like, everything was like, you got to do it now. So I just went back to back. I did IVF, next time I cycle, IVF, next time cycle, IVF, 4 times. And then after the 4th time, I was like, next cycle, uterus surgery, next cycle, another uterus surgery, next cycle,
Oh my
another uterus
god.
surgery.
And you
And
are
then,
running a studio this whole time too.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
so I was born breech. And when I was born breech, I had my kidney damaged, my bladder damaged, and a few other things as well. And with that means like I basically have to take the holistic approach with everything. Like I don't drink, I don't take a lot of antibiotics because they just come back up. So I have issues. So I do a lot of
Mm.
things very holistic. And when you're doing IVF, nothing is holistic. So definitely having all of those needles through your system and just everything, progesterone, estrogen, just off the charts was something I wasn't prepared for. I was just like, all right, we're going through this. Just keep going, just keep going. And, I had the goal in mind, and we got there 2 times over.
Women are just incredible humans. Like the more I don't hear a lot of stories of like, oh yeah, it was so easy. Like
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
rarely. And was it all of is that how you ended up wanting to become a doula? Or tell me how you decided that you wanted to go down
I
that
think
road.
so. When I did because I first started, so I had the yoga studio, and it's aerial arts, but it's about inversions, hanging upside down, things that you can do holistically to help yourself. Like when I started getting into aerial arts, it was amazing. It was just like such a high. It was so much fun to be like wrapped in fabric. But there are a lot of moves that use superficial muscles if you're doing it wrong. And because you want to do the moves, you use the wrong muscles, and then you train the wrong
Mhm.
muscles, and then you have to go backwards. So I was like, well, let's start from square one. Let's set these hammocks 3 feet high so that anybody can do this. And then, of course, I was seeing all of the holistic benefits hanging upside down, doing an inversion just like you would with a handstand in yoga, except you don't have to use any of your strength to do it. So then you can actually just focus on releasing toxins, massaging the organs, working on breath work, setting up the diaphragm and the pelvic floor properly from the very beginning, and working on the deep muscles instead of focusing on superficial muscles, and
Mhm.
bring it there. So that the goals were starting small, like how do you climb a fabric properly? And that was like the first goal, instead of how do you do this crazy trick.
Right.
So kind of took it backwards, but set it up where it was like some of our classes were aerial yoga, some of our classes were aerial dance. So that way you could do both, for dance for cardio and, of course, dance performance movements. And then the yoga would be for um, inward movements, things within your head and your body, and um, starting from the beginning and being able to even accommodate like 84-year-old clients and 14-year-old clients in
Oh,
the same
that's
room.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely, with COVID, we still have the studio open, but it's outdoors, and of course, the maximum is 25%. So we have 6 aerial stands where they're all 8 feet apart. Everybody's on their own stand, so it guarantees that everybody's got space between each other. And I've taken a break from teaching for a little bit while I was healing from C-section and all of that jazz. And
I
then
wanna
because
ask you about that too, but I'm not gonna stop you because I wanted to talk about the doula, but now I'm like, I wanna ask her this, I wanna ask her that, so I'm just gonna keep
yeah, well, I don't even remember what your question was because I have a 3-month-old
the
baby.
question the question was, how did you know you wanted to become a doula? And then I was gonna ask you about that, but I do wanna ask you about C-section, so whatever you wanna talk about
Yeah, so
between those 2.
becoming a doula, basically when I did the pre and postnatal training, I had a bunch of students that were pregnant at the time. And of course, I was at the age where I was like, okay, I want to be a pregnant woman and I want to have a baby. But it wasn't happening for
Mhm.
me. But I was having all of these like fertile clients coming through my doors. Hanging upside down was like a way to be fertile. And I wanted to
Oh,
make sure I was
goodness.
taking care of them. So I did the training for that, to make sure that when they were hanging upside down, they were doing all the right things. When they were pregnant, what they needed to take care of, any issues of pubic symphysis, any issues with sacrum, like what was happening with the ligaments, how things were moving and changing with relaxin running through their bodies, and making sure that they weren't overstretching or compromising by doing aerial yoga and aerial yoga arts at the same time.
Man,
So
there's a probably a lot of women around the country and the world who hopefully hear this and say, "Wow, I wanna find Kim," 'cause that's
yeah,
re I mean, it's very specific what you know how to do.
it's been a fun journey, and it's definitely like through experience and through my own journey has helped me help other people. But yeah, we specifically do see people that have injuries and ailments and try to heal those things and try to get around what those injuries are in our craft of aerial arts. So it gets a little different where it's like you go up high in the air, we stay a little bit lower. And, eventually we raise their wings a little bit more when they get the strength, and then boogie with you. So the doula process, I did that and then did the spinning babies training. And from there, it was just, it kind of just led itself to it, where it was like, okay, next step would be when you're in the labor. So I did birthing doula. There's postnatal doula, and there's doula for birthing. There's also doulas for like grieving for death and all
Mm-hmm.
of that as well. But I did basically labor and delivery. So that's what
Labor and
I
delivery.
had
Okay.
studied. Yep. And so we're there in the process of leading mom, like, what is their birth plan? What will there be alternate birth plans? What are they looking for out of a doula? What does their partner feel about the situation? How can we guide them and help them as well? And hearing all this, I was like, yeah, I need someone that's an advocate for my birth, because my birth's definitely unique, because at the
Mm-hmm.
time I was 42 on my first one. And so I wasn't, home birth obviously was out of the question with damaged kidney and bladder and age and adding on those things. It was just too risky for me. And I'd worked so hard for getting to this step that I found
Yeah.
an OB that was great for me. But having a doula there meant that everybody was, I don't want to say on their toes, but everybody was part of the team. It was like there was more teamwork. The doula actually really helps the OB and helps the nurses by being there for the patient, because the nurses and the doctor have a job to do, and that's to make sure the mom and the baby are safe. It doesn't get to be like, not that they can't be warming, but the doula gets to stay with the mom and the partner the whole time to help service them. And then the nurse and the doctors are making sure the stats are good, that they're safe, and that delivery happens smoothly.
And so
So it's
you
all
obviously had the doula there the first birth, but then the second you couldn't because of COVID.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
So the
And
second,
the difference.
oh, the difference, yeah, that was huge for sure.
Okay.
It was because my recovery was 4 days. It was 4 days actually both times, because I did have the placenta abruption and the hemorrhaging and the blood transfusion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the first time. And then the second time, it was a long process just because of the C-section, or the long recovery. How long did you stay in the hospital for your C-section?
You know what? I I was painfully walking like the second day after the C-section.
Hmm.
Very painfully walking,
Yeah,
from here to
yeah,
the door.
yeah,
But we were so, and I'm sure this is very common. We were so tired from all the people walking in and out, like
yeah,
all night and all day, that we
yeah,
opted to leave a day early. So we actually only stayed 2.5 days.
yeah.
And then I have a lot of gastrointestinal problems
Uh-huh.
historically. So all of the pain meds started to get to my stomach. My gastritis went up through the roof.
Yeah,
And then I had nausea, which is the worst when you have staples in your belly.
yeah,
So I had problems with the whole pain meds, and managing it after I got home. It was a really hard week, but like I've broken my leg before. This post-op was a lot
yeah.
better than my post-op in the past. But for you, can I ask you? Okay, I'm going to tangent a little because I really am so curious for myself.
Yeah.
Had you not had the scar tissue from all the other things, do you think that hanging upside down would have changed the previa over time?
No, because I did try that. Oh, you mean, no, I'm sorry, with the scar tissue, because I had the scar tissue, it didn't work for me. But no, actually,
Yeah,
it
so
does
had
help a
it
lot.
not been there.
Yeah, it helped a lot for my first birth for sure. Um, yeah, so that kind of pivots back to the spinning babies method, where so if you can hang upside down and you can make space for the baby to move around the amniotic fluid, then you're more comfortable, the
Mhm.
baby's more comfortable, and you don't have to worry about all of that as much. But it does depend on where the placenta ends up planting. And usually the placenta ends up planting on top. And that's the goal and that's the plan. Now, mine was low lying placenta was over the cervix and on the backside of my body, which is far
Oh,
more,
wow.
yeah, yeah. If you have the placenta low lying and in the front half, then you have all of this crazy back pain. That's more overwhelming than the position that I was in. So though I was uncomfortable, it was manageable. But the inversions definitely help. Like I said, the amniotic fluid, all that movement for you and the baby is super healthy and really beneficial for both of you. So yes, hanging upside down while I didn't do it the first trimester. Um, had previous miscarriages and I didn't want to risk that, especially with having all of those surgeries with the uterus. Just so many things happening to the uterus. I was like, let's just take a break for the first 12 weeks. And not that you would need to if you were pregnant. That was what I needed to do for me. But the inversions are really beneficial. It's just doing crazy drops and stuff in aerial arts isn't as beneficial because you don't know one how you'll end up or fall, because your body's changing so much, you forget how your balance is, like how you can move changes as well, like just because your body gets so lax. But yeah, inversions are great. Staying low to the ground is great. Movement is great because you're really building the strength in the TV muscles, transverse abdominis muscles. Keeping those strong is super healthy during pregnancy and really helps you out postpartum also. So I definitely advise, if you've been in the air before, stay up in the air. Just be very mindful of what your movements are and during pregnancy. And if you haven't been in the air, you might not know what feels right and what feels wrong if you don't have any experience with it. That's the only difficult part about beginning the sport during pregnancy is, you have a soreness to your body that you don't know if that's just soreness from aerial arts or if that's soreness
or
from
something.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, oh my God, it's so funny because I'm like, oh, I want to know this. So when the placenta plants,
Yeah.
my doctor always said, okay, there's a chance it's going to move. Is it moving, quote unquote, because you're growing, or it
The,
can't actually move?
the placenta and you, yeah, all the above. Yeah. Everything is growing. So it
Okay.
can move. So it plants itself. And it could be like the inversions and gentle massage. And there's some other things. I'm not a doctor, but just studying through spinning babies, like there is a way that round ligament, that's some of the things too, like that's changing in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is an opportunity for part of the placenta to move or rotate or evolve or grow into a different spot. And it has to because,
Okay.
the baby's growing and you're growing and, it's part of the whole process of the 9 months transition. But yeah, you can move it.
So you know what's frustrating is that I just learned more from you about what I had than from I liked my doctors, but they're
Yeah.
just too busy. Like they've got 15 minutes with you or they
Yeah.
don't know the stuff. So I had two doctors. One, my ultrasound doctor was totally separate from my OB, and I've just learned more from you about placenta previa than both of them.
I think it's the whole
So,
doula thing though. That's what, yeah, that's the advocate for the mama. Like, not that the OB wants to or doesn't have the time or doesn't understand. They totally get it. But there is something about protecting because you're vulnerable at that time too. Like you've got all these hormones coming through your body. So it's like, how do they deliver the information to you and also to protect themselves liability wise?
right, right. They've got
Yeah,
different limitations
yeah,
on
they
them.
do. Yeah. So they have to make sure that what they say to you is, I don't want to say like it wouldn't be appropriate, but that there's, legal things, liability, safety of the patient's health and mental wellness. And then on top of it, what they really have to do to get the baby out when, it comes to that time. So all of those things are into play. And I think the whole understanding of the process from a doula perspective, like they can even guide you to, like if you're having round ligament pain and they don't have the tools or the ability to get that worked out, they can tell you who you can go to. And OBs can do that as well, but they have a different job, which is to deliver the baby and make sure the growth of the baby is safe inside the mommy and the mommy's safe, and those are the two factors.
Hmm.
And they're like, okay, this will be pain for 9 months. Not that they're saying suck it up, but will it go away? Will it not? It's how can you enjoy the process and be comfortable at the same time while your body is stretching and changing and all of these hormones are just flowing through your body, and all of these thoughts flow through your body with the hormones.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes it's a little bit easier to look back at it afterwards, after it's all done, and you get to the process, and you get to go, okay, there's that.
So because so you had blocked cervix, so you knew you were going to have a C-section
Yeah,
anyway.
I was doing
Okay.
a lot of movement, and I was really hoping that I could get it to change. But I mean, I knew because of all of my history, everything that I had gone through for the first one, and also, the delivery of the first one and the process before, I knew the likelihood was there was probably a lot of scar tissue that wasn't letting the placenta be on top. But I did try to work through it, you know, trying to get there. But it was probably the best decision for me to have a C-section, not just obviously with low-lying placenta, but even if it did slightly move, it might have been a better decision for me to have a C-section the second time because of all of the factors involved.
And how was your recovery? The
My
C-section
recovery,
recovery?
yeah, so I'm 12 weeks now, a little over 12 weeks, and it's funny because I didn't expect the stomach to be so numb. Like I actually didn't feel it very much in the first maybe 5 weeks. It was like week five
Really?
when, yeah, when all of a sudden my abdomen just started to tingle a little bit, where I started to feel some of the injury. But with that said, though, I actually had like a C-section scar because when I was 5 years old, I had to have surgery on the damaged bladder and damaged kidney. So
Oh
I
my goodness, Kim. Holy moly.
so she kind of cut into that C-section scar. I don't know if that had something to do with it, with previous scar tissue already there, but I still have a little bit at 12 weeks. I still have some of it is numb still. Did, did you get full? Like, can you feel every
No.
part of it?
Yeah, I never had the numbness, and I'd have
Oh
heard
wow,
that from a lot of women before. Never had the numbness.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
cut
I've
through
never
the
had
nerve,
it.
so it's pretty common. You have to do like,
Yes.
just like, it's kind of funny because like now my little man is going through this thing where it's like he has to touch silk, he needs to touch satin, he needs to touch all of these different sensory things, just like reaching your fingertips towards like skin or, cotton balls. Like, so that's the same process that you do with the scar, like working out the scar tissue as well, like trying to get all of that. So we're doing it as a team. It's like a little tag team project.
And that's like the occupational therapy around preemies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I have a friend who had twins, early, maybe at 30 weeks,
Okay.
and, she kind of has told me about her occupational therapy journey with the 2 of them, and it's again, before you have kids, you never like, I'd never thought about it. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's a lot." That's why people want the baby to be fully cooked, because
Yeah.
you really have to watch these,
Yeah.
wow. Um, okay,
Yeah.
and
And
so
it is.
you still have numbness, but, um, how like, pain and what are the other symptoms that you have, or has it felt
Yeah, the numbness is one. Of course, the abdomen, the strength isn't there, but I don't know if it's there because I was bed rest for a little while. So I had, which the mucus plug came out 2.5 weeks before he was born. So we actually did have,
really? Oh my goodness.
yeah. So we kind of knew that it was going to happen because when that happens, that's like one of the signs of labor. So 2.5 weeks later, I went into labor and that was it. He was, born, but we of course went through with a C-section. And it's when the mucus plug came out, it was like total bed rest. Can't do anything. Complete bed rest.
Right, because then the amniotic fluid could escape, right? Except maybe
Well,
not in your case.
yeah, and also too, you could start to bleed out because the placenta is lowest. So the first thing that's going to come out is the placenta. So if the placenta abrupts, you will hemorrhage, and that's not safe for the mom. And obviously, if the mom doesn't stay alive, how does the baby? So you have to make sure that you are close to a hospital, that you have everything in order, that you're ready to move. So I did start bleeding at 2.5 weeks afterwards. Fortunately, it was like light bleeding. So I was able just to drive to the hospital. My husband was able to take Miri to Katie's house.
Katie.
It was very
I don't
systematically.
know if I was, like, emotionally ready for the conversation that we're having right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew the slightest amount about your story, and wow, I am just floored. And I experienced, I've always had anxiety, like diagnosable anxiety, and I would have been off the charts had I been you.
Yeah,
How did you
I
deal with
definitely
that?
well, I would it was pretty stressful, and I think that's probably why I had early signs of labor. That's probably part of the reason, just because of so much stress going on with COVID and taking care of Miri and, just being pregnant through all that, moving everything too, like heavy lifting, like all the things that you're not supposed to do when you're pregnant.
That you're not supposed to do, right?
Yeah. But your body's used to it. My body's done it before. It was doing it just before I was pregnant. So it's not like I'm developing new muscles or doing something different, but there is something to say for, even in aerial arts while you're pregnant, if you're lifting your entire body weight, what are you doing to your pelvic floor? Like if your pelvic floor muscles start to feel the fatigue of that, then take a break. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Like there's when you're on that journey through pregnancy and doing aerial arts, remember that you're lifting up your entire body weight when you're doing aerial moves. So just to be able to heal your pelvic floor properly, have those indicators. And then it's interesting too because I after delivery from vaginal and C-section, like the C-section, did they give you like a garment to put over your waist to do like I didn't know exactly why the garment was for the waist, so I had to do some homework, but it's really so the skin can grow back to the muscles that it was torn away from.
Are you
Then
talking about like a little that corset
yeah,
type
like a
thing,
corset.
like
Yeah,
the binder? Yeah,
yeah.
they did give me that, but I didn't know that was the reason.
Yeah, well,
That
it's
was
to
one of
just
the
keep
reasons.
everything keep everything in for the first month. That way your skin can adhere back to everything that's been detached from or whatever parts. This is too graphic and it's actually kind of wishy-washy, but kind of a roundabout way that's what's happening also. But if you do binding too tight, then you're putting pressure on your pelvic floor as well. And I feel like that was never talked to me either. Like I had to do the homework to figure that out.
So
I
you're
don't know.
saying that you use the binding so that the fibers of the muscles and can can basically go back to where they need to go,
Yeah.
and it helps that?
Yeah. So it helps
Oh
that
my
like wearing it
goodness.
24 hours a day for the first maybe 30 to 45 days. And some people might wear it up to 3 months, and you could wear it even longer. But if you do waist cinch really tight, then there's nowhere for all of the trauma and the healing because your tissue is really inflamed and it's going to be inflamed and you're going to feel like you're still pregnant because you've got all this inflamed tissue. And this is regardless if you're C-section or vaginal pregnancy, that tissue's had some trauma. And so
Mhm.
putting too much waist cinching, pushing pressure on the pelvic floor, that's the only place it can go to. It can't go up to your ribs and, through your throat. So it's gravity's doing its toll. And I feel like that's not talked about a lot either.
No, I don't think so either. Is that one tool that you would use to help a woman with diastasis recti? Is that a
You
tool
could.
that is used, or is it more of the exercise?
It's more, yeah, I think it's more of just the waiting period, the time for healing. Diaphragmatic breathing is really helpful. Sleep and diaphragmatic breathing, I feel like are the two, like, those are the two wins. Like getting enough
Right,
sleep so
okay.
that your body can recover, which is almost impossible when you're trying to
So
breastfeed.
hard.
And yeah, I haven't found it yet. I don't know the answer to that one, but I dream of it while I'm awake.
I mean, the things that they say, they're like, "If you don't wanna have postpartum depression, then just get enough sleep." I'm like, "Okay,
I'm
thanks,
sorry, repeat that.
reality."
Repeat that. Oh, get enough
You know
sleep. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
just get enough sleep. I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's get real." Um,
No, it's a
yeah,
serious thing. I did have it. I had it the first time with Miri. Definitely did. It was. I mean, when you're not a mom and then you're a mom, and all of a sudden you're trying to do all the things that you did before, but also take care of somebody's livelihood 24 hours a day, adding to all the things you did before, it's an impossible task. But yet, I think we're supposed to do that, and
mhm.
it's really like in other countries where they give like the mom 6 months off, and sometimes co-parents, like both partners 6 months off. Some countries do 2 years off. It makes a lot of sense because it's a full-time job to watch for the safety and wellness of the little being and also make sure they're growing to become a little human to be able to exist in the
Yeah.
world. And then you're trying to do
Yeah,
all
our
these
our
other things.
country is very far behind when it comes to these things. Like Sweden is 2 years, I believe,
Yeah,
that
and yeah,
they
talking
get.
about just like you're a super mom, you're being super. It's like, but what about the health though? Hello? Yeah. But I think that's why it's like, you had an awesome circle. I don't know if that helped you out having a tribe of peers that were
Oh,
also
yeah.
becoming mommies at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I was a little bit different because my family was on the East Coast, and so I was kind of my peers weren't in the realm of having kids, and so it was like this whole experience for me where I'd give a phone call to my siblings and be like, "What is this?" But I was still trying to run the show as if I was not a mom, and I think I was asking a little bit too much of myself, and so with that comes less sleep, anxiety, all of those things. I was feeling all those
Yep.
things and wondering why I wasn't a superhero, thinking that I was supposed to be. So I was definitely having some postpartum depression issues the first time around. I think it's
And the second was
woman's
just
nature.
different because you knew how to, I mean, that transition to motherhood was a really huge, huge thing for me.
Yeah.
It was so
It was,
hard to wrap my head around, um, the responsibility of it was so heavy and deep
yeah.
for me, and anxiety plays a huge part in that because then you start, you don't have that confidence. I do think that
Yeah.
had if I did what you did and went ahead and had another child right now or in a year or so from now,
Mhm.
it would be different because that confidence is there already. You know that you can take care of a child.
Yeah.
Even if you
Absolutely.
have to look after a toddler and a baby, which wow, I don't even know how. So here's the next question. Are you back on the rig yet?
So I'm training, but I'm not teaching right now. I'm not in the outdoor classroom right now teaching, but I'm in the outdoor classroom training. So I'm just kind of like taking the time and the steps. And because, we're in this situation too, where it's like 25% capacity, there's less people coming into the studio. Like we would have about like maybe close to like 400, 500, 600 clients a month rotating through the studio. And that was when I had Miri, that's what was happening. And of course, we're like way less because we have maximum five, and not all the teachers felt comfortable coming back, when it was time to open back up as well. So now we have four teachers before we had 15 teachers. So, and,
That's a huge difference.
yeah. And, um, and then also too, there's not as many clients that feel comfortable being out right now, until we have confirmation that the vaccine is great and all of these things, that the world definitely will be different coming back for sure. It's going to be a slow
So
process.
in your training, so you're 12 weeks. So did your doctor give you this green light to exercise at 6 weeks?
Well, she gave me the green light not to do aerial arch. She was like, you don't want to be lifting your body weight until at least 3 to 6 months afterwards until your pelvic floor heals. And which is kind of interesting because you would think with C-section, you wouldn't have to heal a pelvic floor, but you still have all that pelvic floor pressure from pregnancy, and you still have all that relax in your body, and you still have like dilation because you're moving forward into labor and delivery. Your body doesn't know you're getting a C-section. So you have all of those
Mhm.
triggers still happening, and there is that recovery period. Did you have all that as well?
I mean, my doctor barely told me anything. So when it comes to bleeding postpartum, I bled for 8 weeks
Okay.
without a
That was
break.
funny. Yeah.
I never dilated beyond 4 centimeters. So
Okay. But that's still,
that wasn't as big of a deal. But when it came to guidance about when to do what, I really relied on my friends because, and this is part of the reason why I'm even doing this, because
Yeah.
I feel like these stories will help other
Yeah.
women just to get a lot of different perspectives. I just interviewed Sarah Romanowski, and she had a C-section,
Yeah.
and her experience is very different. She feels great, So
Well, you were also not
uh,
able. You had low lying placenta. That's a big difference. Did she have a C-section
yeah.
for low lying placenta?
No, she ended up having a C-section because 12, 13 years prior, she had that accident at the Beverly Center where her pelvis completely
Oh,
cracked open. I
right.
don't know if you remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
So
I
she
do remember.
still has three out of the four pins inside her, and they made a conscious choice to schedule a C-section because of
Okay.
that, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that either. So, yeah, so I
Yeah. So
actually went back.
she was training into um just weeks before she delivered. And also too, she was training less than, would you say, 13 feet high because
Oh
she
yeah,
didn't have access.
she has a mini rig because of COVID.
Right.
Yeah, she's got an outdoor mini rig. So yeah, she was really low to the ground, and then of course I was on pelvic rest
Yeah.
starting 4.5
Yeah.
months. So I was teaching, but I was talking
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. I would say also too, like those restrictions to her not being able to climb higher, all of those things are really helpful for her to be able to get back up afterwards too. So she was able to stay in check. There's, just, and even, I mean, I was thinking because I was pregnant through COVID that I would be able to get back sooner because I wasn't having to do as much. But I mean, I had a 2-year-old, so I was
Yeah, I
doing
mean, there's other
way more
other
than,
limitations.
yeah. But definitely,
And so
that's one thing we always do is like compare ourselves to other mommies because it's like that's
other
all we
moms,
have.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, and you can't go that route because everybody has a different journey, and it's like I sometimes I want to spill my beans there and be like, this is my journey, and just like here's the reason, but it's, yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy because everybody's process is a little bit different. So to get advice from other people and even understanding from other people, it's like because their journey was different, they might not be able to see it the same way. But I mean,
Yeah,
I remember like forward folds were horrible for me after Miri, like going into a forward fold. It was like so much strain on my pelvic floor. I had to heal that first. And it's like you can't see pelvic floor work. So though you can see like crazy aerial moves in the air, it's like my pelvic floor is amazing
mhm.
now. No one will ever know.
Yeah, well, and then for me, being able to forward fold and like, lay on a pancake on the ground, legs out, and because I had that bump there for so long, it was like the best feeling. And of course, like I'm hearing now that that was painful for you. My question is, because I didn't have that numbness at the incision, what what does it feel like now to get upside down with that numbness? Does
It
it feel
doesn't.
like there's a disconnect? Do you feel a disconnect?
No, not at all. The only time I feel disconnect is when I touch my belly and I don't feel it. Like my
I see.
fingers have the no, they're touching on the belly, but it's almost like I'm touching some like the bed or something, like not touching my own body because there's nothing, like there's no receptors to receive that information. So it's very strange, and it was really strange when it started like slightly tingling, and then some part of it got feeling. And there are cases where you might never get the feeling back. And there's some cases where it might take a few years. Um, I'm not stressing out about it because it's it would only become an issue to me maybe if like I got burnt or something and didn't realize it was hot stove hitting me or something. I don't know. I'm throwing things out there right now that I have no idea.
Well,
I'm
I
not
had that
sure.
experience on my ankle from all the surgeries I had on my ankle. Like, it's been about 10 years since then, and now it's just feeling like it's almost going away. But even if I scratch it with my finger, there's
Yeah.
tingling there still. So I did experience that with skin. I didn't happen to experience that with my C-section
You-
scar. But
I was curious. Did you do any scar tissue work on your ankle or your C-section?
so purposefully on my ankle, yes. Inadvertently on my C-section because my baby loves to step on me right there.
Right. Yeah. Okay,
She
so you did.
is just digging in there
Yeah,
with her feet. So yeah, it's really glides. Like I have a really great scar in a lot of ways. My ankle though, I
yeah.
have a myofascia friend who works on me all the time and she has gotten in there and that shit because the bone is so close
Yeah.
to, it's just I got skinny ankles. It is so painful to do
Well,
scar
there's
work.
certain ways of doing the scar tissue too, and some of them isn't always like trigger point or like deep tissue. Like you're supposed to like for the scar tissue. This is my understanding is that um, superficial first, so you actually just like pet the skin for like 1 week,
Okay.
and then you go a little bit deeper into the muscles. Then you go a little bit deeper into the organs for scar tissue of the abdomen. So that's what I had been slowly working my way to
Mm.
transition, and that's where like the numbness finally like broke through, where it was like I could feel it finally. Um, but that's the same thing with the ankle too. Is like you could do some petting to the ankle. It doesn't always have to be like huge, like lymphatic movement. It can be gentle, just skin surface based.
Okay,
Can
that's
also
really
help.
good to know. And it's just from your vibe, like I just sense like a lot of calmness and confidence around the timing of getting back into your practice. And I think that's wonderful. More, your timeline is one thing, but that feeling is something that I think that other women maybe they're trying to figure out how to make their timeline shorter, but really what I think women in our position want is we want that confidence and confidence to know that whatever the timeline is, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think that was the first time around, and also too like being a studio owner, like thinking that I had to perform right afterwards. Like I had to teach, I had to perform. Like I did feel that the first time around, and like I said, I did have postpartum depression, and it was all of that stuff going on. I definitely went back too soon, and I know that that makes the recovery time even longer. So this time I go, okay, well, I want to do aerial arts until I'm, you know, until I'm in my grave. Like I want to do aerial arts forever. So if I'm going to do that, this means I have to take the time right now to be able to do it in my 70s, do it in my 80s, and also feel like I'm doing it correctly, doing it right. Like feel good when I'm in the air instead of feeling pain or pressure when I'm in the air.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
I want to keep that up. So it's it's not as fun right now being as grounded, but I'm close to ground. I'm spinning with my 2-year-old. Like she's a freaking aerialist right now. She's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, she's crazy. When I want to say when she was 3 or 4 months, I did like set up a hammock like really close to the ground so she could just like sit in it. And I had it cut shorter so there wouldn't be any issues with her having to have extra fabric. Like I kind of made the system work. And then when she was able to like hook it around her shoulders, I raised the hammock so it'd be like a foot off the ground. And she's she's having a lot of fun. I do like a little adjustment on the hammock. It gets raised like once every maybe 5 weeks or so. Like
Oh
when
my God.
she's
And it's so accessible because you have it on your property, right? So
yeah,
does she just ask to do it all the time?
she does it every day. It's
Ah,
a,
so awesome.
I know she's really funny. She does it every day. She's her favorite thing is to do is spinning, but she actually just learned how to do a single knee hang,
Oh my
and she
God.
yeah she thinks she's so cool. Like how does she get her foot through it? She started inverting actually on her own. I want to say like 5 months into the pandemic. Like she figured out how to go upside down, legs straddled wide, and she gets up and down on her own. She'll start spinning and then invert, hang upside down for a little while, pose it out, splay the fingers wide, do some jazz hands.
Oh my
It's really
God.
adorable.
I mean, the only thing I've done with mine is just put her in, just like a little bit of like a, like a cocoon.
Yeah, they love it though.
But oh my God, of course. It's like
Yeah,
your mom's work is like a playground.
yeah, yeah. It's like a
Yeah, it's really
mobile.
special. Exactly, exactly. And then she watches the aerialists and she
Yeah.
watches me, although she doesn't like when I'm up there because I'm too far for her, but she likes watching others.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
It's like it's a human mobile. It's like I look at me and my friends, and these kids are just getting a completely different
Oh
start
yeah.
at life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
definitely. I mean, it's it's an Olympic sport that's not in the Olympics, basically.
well,
I
I
mean, it's
keep on saying that I hope it makes it into the Olympics so that I can get
yeah.
paid a really, really high amount for coaching. Because I think that's the only way I'm gonna get that much. I mean, in my fantasies. But Kim, I would love to have you back and maybe get deeper into one of the many things, because you're just so knowledgeable and have so much life experience around this stuff. And I really think that the the very I was talking to my friend, she's the postpartum mood disorders specialist.
Mm,
She was
wow.
talking
Yeah.
to her friends about this podcast, and they're like, wow, that is so niche. It
Yeah. It's
is.
great.
It is. But when we find our community, I really feel like this information is going to be so well received, because there's just, if
And
you're not
there's a need.
lucky enough to have these people in your like, geographic area, sometimes you'll just never meet them or hear from them.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a lot to say for the aerial community growing, and there's only so much stuff that you see on social media where it's the tricks. And so
Yes.
becoming a new mom, you're trying to get back to the tricks. And if you know there's other aerial mamas out there, then there's a different kind of understanding where you get to be more graceful in the recovery of it. I don't know why I use that word, but just just to feel empowered in the recovery, not thinking that the recovery is to be on the fabric again doing crazy moves immediately. Like there's a moment where you also need to like not stress about what the people around you are doing because they still keep growing in their aerial journey. You're growing in your aerial journey with your baby. So it's how do you break that down? Like there are many a times where I'll be 1 foot off the ground in the fabric doing a move. And then, I remember being 15 feet off the fabric, but I have to embrace the 1 foot off the fabric because I get to do it next to my little one. And trying to change that mindset a little bit did take some time in the first one because I was still trying to be the person I was before I was a mom. And it gets confusing when you're trying to be two different people. I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I experienced that too. I needed to shed it and like kind of, cocoon and butterfly into this new phase, and it was a huge transition. But that is the word that you said the word graceful, and that is what I was thinking this whole time talking to you. It just sounds so graceful, because that sentiment of rush is just so in us.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk to a lot of my friends who just had babies, and I think that is the commonality amongst a lot, and looking back and saying, okay, well, what could I have done differently to make it more graceful for myself? And it seems like on the second one, you kind of figured it out. And we have my little bean coming into the room, so I
Aw.
am amazed that you had an hour, because I know you don't really have an hour. So I'm gonna let you go, but I loved having you, and I know that the listeners are gonna just get so much from hearing from your expertise, and then I would love to have you again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing this. This is super important and essential. And um, I know you're a busy mom and a crazy working mom, and it's not easy to get it done. So you're doing the good stuff.
Thank you so much to Kim and to my listeners for tuning in. Thank you to baby daddy and music producer extraordinaire Asa Watkins for the music and post production. You can find Kim at Up Flying Yoga on Instagram. And you can always email me at carrie@wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, what do you have to say? You can say goodbye. Bye.